Hello, and greetings from the National Shrine of the Divine Mercy here in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. My name is Father Tyler with the Marian Fathers of the Immaculate Conception, and today I want to speak to you about a question that we received from a young man in Arizona, and he asks, how did you know that you wanted to be a priest? I think in my own experience, the question when I was growing up really wasn't even on my radar. I wasn't even considering it. You know, I loved to play sports. I loved being in school and doing schoolwork. I also played the drums and was interested in music and you know, just had a lot of different interests growing up. And I thought priests, you know, they have to be, you know, that it seemed to me that priests were those who were you know, praying all day. They had cracked open their Bible and were praying a bunch of rosaries in the corner all day. And that was kind of what you did if you were going to become a priest, you know, and that wasn't me. I loved being outside, loved playing, loved doing a whole bunch of things. So I never imagined that I was going to be a priest, or thought about that a lot growing up. However, the Lord has an excellent sense of humor, and He knows us better than we know ourselves. As we recently heard in the readings from the prophet Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I dedicated you, a prophet to the nations, I appointed you." And so the Lord knows us more deeply than we could ever know ourselves. And even though we may think one thing with our lives, and we may have a particular plan, or we come up with something that we think sounds like a great idea. I'm going to be, you know, I know for me, I was going to have a family with about 15 kids. I was going to be in Major League Baseball, and you know, I was going to be an architect, and that was going to be my life. But turns out that the Lord said, well, you're going to have spiritual children. You're going to have children, but they're going to be spiritual children, and you're going to have many, many, many spiritual children as a father, a priest. And, you know, you're not going to be an architect, but you are going to be building the kingdom of God in your life with your words, with your ministry, building the Lord's kingdom. And, you know, I'm not playing baseball and playing sports, you know, in the major leagues, but the Lord has given me many opportunities to play in a men's league where I play baseball with fellow seminarians and priests, all for the sake of trying to show Christ to the world in and through the sports and those activities. And so the Lord still gives us those opportunities to use our talents, our gifts, our skills, but in ways that are for building His kingdom up and for giving God the greater honor and glory. The very first time that I thought of possibly being a priest, I was in high school, and I was petrified. I was extremely scared of that invitation or that prospect of being a priest. And I said, Lord, not me. You know, give me a million miles away from that, because I'm just too afraid. That's just too much, and it just seems kind of weird. That was kind of my first thought. But as I said, the Lord knows us. He's formed us in the womb, and He has a plan and a path that He's spoken into our hearts in the moment of our conception, that He knows what's going to fill our hearts with joy. He knows what is going to bring us that fullest possible peace in our lives. And we are going to be somewhat empty, somewhat hollow in our lives if we don't answer that Lord's call. There's always going to be that thought in the heart of, what if? What if? I felt like the Lord was asking me and I didn't say yes to it. You know, what if I had? And so I encourage you very deeply, very strongly, to just allow yourself to be open to the Lord's path in your life. And just whatever He desires, just to say, Lord, you made me for yourself. You made me. You know what's going to fulfill me, what's going to be the most satisfying thing in my life. You know me better than I know myself. Tell me, share with me what that is, and give me the grace to say yes. Just briefly, in my own life, as I said, it took me a good journey to come to that place of being able to say yes. But while I was in college, there was this men's group, this small men's group that would meet kind of once a week, and we would talk about Christ, talk about things in the scriptures, and so that was kind of mixed in there with my college experience, that that faith was there. And I began slowly to take a deeper ownership of my faith. I was away from family, away from, what I'd grown up with, many hours away at college. And I found that as much as I loved baseball, as much as I loved architecture, that the passion for the faith, the passion for the church was the deeper fire in my heart that was burning. And I thought, man, if this is the real stuff of life. This is the true thing, the deep things that our life is really about. And so, I began to pray a little more, began to read a little more, and slowly my little dorm room was turning into a Catholic bookstore. Everywhere I looked, there was books about the faith or the Eucharist or Mary or different things. But that passion was there in my heart. And I did have some experiences of dating relationships and opportunities of courting and dating in my years at college. And the Lord allowed me to experience those things. And I remember just after I graduated college that I was in a relationship, and I remember just making not the best choices in my life. Some poor choices, and not knowing where I was going with my career, not knowing how I was going to move forward, just being very discouraged, not really knowing what the path forward was in my life. And in the midst of my own sinfulness and my own brokenness, and not knowing where I was going, messing things up, I finally, broke down one evening in my room, and I literally was balled up in the fetal position on my floor, in the dark, in my room, and I was just crying out to the Lord, Lord, what do you want me to do with my life? What have you made me to do? I know you have something for me. I know you have a plan, and I don't know what it is. You can obviously see I'm doing a terrible job in saying yes to you in charting my own path here. So you got to tell me. I'm pretty stubborn. Tell me what you want me to do. Let me know, because I know you have a plan. What do you want me to be for you, Lord? And I cried myself to sleep, and I went to bed, and after that prayer. And the next morning I woke up, and I just had this little inspiration to look at some books that I had previous years ago about the priesthood, and to look through them and say, just a little inspiration, why don't you check those out again? And so I cracked them open and paged through them, and I said, oh my goodness, this is who I want to be. This is everything that I want to be. And there was this fire in my heart, because for the first time in that prayer, that it took me to get through that, to get to that crisis point, to say, Lord, I need you. I'm messing things up. It took me to get there, to open my heart, to truly say, I want to do your will, Lord. I want to say yes to you in my life. And the Lord heard that prayer, and he answered my prayer. And shortly after I read that book about the priesthood, my heart was just on fire with saying, wow, Lord, I think you want me to be a priest, and I'm open to that. And I kept praying about it, and there was this deep peace and joy that accompanies us anytime that the Lord's speaking to us about his will, and we say yes. And if it is the Lord's will, there is a peace that accompanies that. There's a joy. We may not necessarily feel it in terms of emotions, but there is a soul-deep peace and a soul-deep joy that is within us when we are walking in God's will. And I've definitely experienced that reality in my own life. So if you're considering a call to religious life, if you're considering a call to the priesthood, if you've heard or felt in any way the Lord speaking to you, asking you, come and follow me, I encourage you, open your heart to him. Say, Lord, you've made me for some reason, for some purpose. Let me know your will. I want to do it. Not my plans, not my way, but your way, Lord. What is your path for me? And I promise you, if you offer that prayer to the Lord, he will hear you. He will answer you, maybe not in the way you expect, but he will hear you, and he will honor that prayer.